Good morning. Welcome to the press conference of the Greens EFA group on migration. We know that the debate is still going on, but it was very difficult to find slots for press conferences in Strasbourg. All was overbooked. So we will start with a short presentation by two of our MEPs working on those issues. First, Judith Sargentini and then Ska Keller. And our third speaker, Jean Lambert, we hope will join a bit later because she has actually to speak in plenary.
Thank you, Ruud, and thank you, people in the room and people on the live stream. You must have all looked at the first part of the debate with Donald Tusk, Juncker, and the speakers of the big groups. And what hit me is actually again that what we're beaming up here, that there's a lot of symbolic actions going on, but nothing really practical to rescue people right now. And we want to give you the message, give the world the message that silence is not enough. We tried to count how often we took a minute of silence here in this house. We went back even as far as 2005, when also this parliament debated the refugee tragedy around Lampedusa. We looked into minutes of silence, and the one that you see above here is the minute of silence in the council last Thursday. I cannot give you a figure, but it's quite often. And we say you can give symbolic gestures, but if it does not lead to rescuing people at sea, it's an empty gesture that should make you ashamed. So silence is not enough. We've heard Donald Tusk, the president of the council, again today in Parliament, starting his speech with the need to fight smuggling and the need to make sure people do not get on the boats. Well, we all want people not to get on a boat, but we think you're not getting there with stopping smugglers. Behind every smuggler is a new smuggler, because it's financially very, very attractive. We're waiting for the migration agenda of the European Commission. And although Mr. Juncker has been maybe progressive or promising in his speech today, I'm afraid that we're not getting what we needed, what we'll need. And I'll let Ska speak about that later, and then when Jean Lambert comes, she can speak about our proposals to do something different than Dublin. But the signs of a progressive agenda are actually quite weak. It might be that the Commission works out their own internal differences that are there. You can see that Mr. Timmermans from the north is representing a really Western Western view, saying, well, as long as the refugees pass my country by, I don't see the need for big changes, whereas Avramopoulos from Greece actually sees the urgent need for changes. So it could be that the Commission overcomes their internal differences and present us with an agenda. But then what? With 28 member states that back up Mr. Tusk, that will only talk about fighting the smugglers and trying to use our military to stop people getting on boats. What we see now is that European migration policy or European asylum policy is a survival of the fittest. You manage to get here because you've got enough funds, or somebody can lend you, or you work your way through in a horrible situation, and you've got the, let me put it this way, you've got the Ausdauer, the strength to actually take the journey. And if you manage to do that, we are willing to take your application. We're willing to look at your application. A survival of the fittest is not a European migration policy, and silence is not enough. I think that would be my introductory remarks, and I give the floor to Ska.
Thank you, Judith. Indeed, as you say, what we've been criticising now in the debate is that the Council conclusions were not enough because they're not addressing the crucial issues. And for those crucial issues, we're not presenting in this paper what we think the correct answer should be, what our green proposals are. And I think you all got a copy, and if not, I'm sure we have some more. What's of utmost important is that we set up right away a humanitarian search and rescue mission, and that is very different from a Triton mission that we have now, and that was strengthened, let's say, I mean, more money was given to that from the Council. It's different because Frontex is a border guardian agency. No, we're not questioning, of course, that in the realm of Triton, Frontex is, of course, also participating in rescue missions, but they're not searching, they're not actively searching because that's not their task. And they are situated off the Italian coast.
Should we get that photo on, Dirk? There you go.
And
look.
Triton, Triton is operating off the Italian coast, whereas the boats usually sink just off the Libyan coast. And from all we know, the Triton boats do go south, but they first have to leave from up north and then go south. So it's very different. It's not enough. The Parliament resolution calls for an extension of the area of Triton, which is very good. But we really want a humanitarian rescue mission, a mission that is only there for search and rescue, not for anything else. Mare Nostrum was leading the way. It was stopped because the member states, several member states felt that this was creating a pull factor, which I think cannot, that's cynicism to 100%. And what we need utmost is to save lives, and we do that with the humanitarian search and rescue operation. But of course that only addresses the symptoms, because indeed nobody should have to go on such a small boat and risk their life in the Mediterranean. And people do that currently because they don't have any other possibility. There is hardly any legal and safe way to come to the European Union and apply for asylum, even though we have an asylum system. We have a common European asylum system. We have the member states all providing asylum, but to get to that area in order to ask for asylum, that's the difficult bit. And we're demanding possibilities for safe and legal access to the European Union. And this can include more resettlement, drastically more resettlement. It can include humanitarian visas that are given to people in order for them to be able to come to the European Union to apply for asylum here. We are talking about humanitarian corridors. We're talking about a visa waiver for Syrians, for example. All these things are possible already under EU law. You don't have to do big treaty changes, well, not at all. You can apply them, and currently, for example, the Council is blocking also a wish from the Parliament to strengthen the humanitarian visa in the visa codex. So there we see that actually the Council is working against saving lives and creating legal and safe access to the European Union. We also say that we absolutely need to safeguard the possibility for spontaneous applications of asylum seekers, and that we need to address the root causes. Both are linked to the issue of member states saying we want to have asylum centres somewhere in North Africa so that people don't even come here. No, the right to asylum has to be safeguarded in the EU. Only here can we make sure that the rule of law is being followed, that human rights are respected, and that we don't have to work together with regimes that are not very respectful in terms of human rights. And of course, we need to address the root causes of migration, but the root causes are a long-term thing, and we've been saying that for long. And unfortunately, in a lot of debates, addressing the root causes is used as an excuse for why we don't have to do anything about asylum seekers right now. But root causes are things like crisis prevention, a safer, or like a more fairer trade and agriculture policy, fisheries policy, and all of that. And of course, fourth point is that we want to replace the Dublin system with a fair system of solidarity among member states. I'm taking this kind of over because Dean has not arrived yet. So what we want is a system that's fairer for the member states, so that not some member states can simply say, no, we're not doing anything, but also a system that is fairer for the refugees, so that refugees could go to where they, for example, have family, where they speak the language, where they have studied in the past or something. So in order to make integration possible, This would have great benefits for the refugees, but also for the hosting countries, and it would also decrease the current secondary movements that we see when people arrive in one country and then have to find irregularly a way to go to the place where they actually want to go to. This is in very short our points, our proposals for addressing the problem of people dying in the Mediterranean, and I think that our proposals certainly go much further and are better at addressing the problems that we see rather than the Council.
We did an investigation into Dublin and came up with a report and proposals. But what we found out in the investigation is that it starts to have very strange results. There is this return policy in between member states. So an asylum, and we coupled the numbers that we've got, and we noticed that asylum seekers that first did an application in Germany and then moved on to Sweden, or asylum seekers that did the other way around, started their journey ahead, did an application in Sweden and then moved on to Germany, that these numbers actually match up, but they continue to send people back. So we had at a certain time 200 people that were forced to go from Sweden to Germany to finalize their application there, and 200 people from Germany to Sweden. That's 400 people that you are moving around from one place to another, where the numbers continue to stay the same, but you're derouting, you're taking the routes away from 400 people. Think of the costs that come with that. It shows, it illustrates that this is not anymore about a fair system. This is about showing your people that you're strict on migration. Your member states are willing to pay ridiculous amounts of money for policies that are not working, because they were both ending up with 200 migrants that needed a new, refugees that needed a new place. But they were willing to pay the price for the sending back and forth. And I think it illustrates painfully that this is not about effectiveness, this is not about being human, this is about short-term politics.
Thank you, Ska and Judith. Now we have time for questions. Are there any? Yeah. You have to put the button, yeah.
Is it good? Okay. Hi, this is Turkish Press Agency. I just have one question for this visa waiver program for Syrian refugees. Could you elaborate on this program, especially in terms of the date and numbers and cooperation with third-party countries that are actually hosting Syrian refugees at the moment?
We think that Syrian shall I answer right away? Oh, sorry. I didn't ask. Syrian refugees, when they come to the European Union, they are always applicable for asylum, so they will be granted asylum. But currently, in order to get to the EU, they have to take these dangerous routes, either via the Aegean or then via the further routes over the Mediterranean. So we think, therefore, that visa needs to be scrapped for Syrians, and especially it's been getting very, very difficult for Syrians to get a visa because they cannot prove that they're willing to return, obviously not. So that is something we want. Of course, we also need to help countries that are currently hosting most Syrian refugees, like Lebanon. I mean, Turkey is indeed hosting a lot of Syrian refugees and is doing a good job there. So, but for the visa waiver program as such, you would not necessarily need, specific programs together with third countries, because that's something that the EU can just say, we want to have a visa waiver for Syrian refugees.
Any other questions? That's not the case. Do you want to add anything? No.
No?
Okay.
No, let's not spend more time than strictly needed. A lot has been already said, and I don't want to be the symbolic speaker that does not do the action. Silence is not enough, but sometimes you need to be silent and start working.
Well, let's work then. Thank you very much.